Hello, it's Reviews Day Tuesday, and today it's time for Mouse Reviews. I asked on Patreon which of these two things you would like me to review today. I have a small, even amount of patrons, and it was a tie, so I'm going to review both of them. First up, I am going to review Solo: A Star Wars Story. This is the 2018 Star Wars anthology film, the second after Rogue One. It sits around 10 years before the events of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and we get to experience the origin of the character of Han Solo, his meeting with Chewbacca and Lando Calrissian, and how he came to acquire the Millennium Falcon. I had heard bad things, maybe not bad things, maybe more like mediocre things about this film, so I didn't start watching it with particularly high expectations, and maybe because of that I really enjoyed this film overall. I can understand how expectations would be high because Han Solo is such a well-loved and interesting character in the Star Wars films, and I think that a lot could have been done with this film which would have been more exciting and more in keeping with the character. But without those expectations, it was still a fun film to watch, and I enjoyed it and I was entertained. There are some little treats in the film, mainly to do with Chewie and Lando and Lando's droid L3. The film did feel very safe. The stakes never felt particularly high, and the plot was quite predictable. There were some great action sequences throughout the film, a couple of good chases, more exciting moments peppered throughout. But considering Han Solo as a character, there was maybe not enough that was exciting and dramatic and surprising in this film. So it was a fun, enjoyable film to watch, especially if you go in without particularly high expectations. I don't think it's a bad film, but I would put it as my least favourite Star Wars film. I will give Solo: A Star Wars Story 3.6 out of 5. Now, the second thing I'm going to review today is The Umbrella Academy. This is a superhero series which you can find on Netflix. Season 1 was released there earlier on this year. It currently has 10 episodes and it's based on the comic book series of the same name, and it revolves around a family of adopted superhero siblings who reunite, sort of, to solve the mystery of the death of their eccentric, distant, overbearing billionaire father, and also try and stop an apocalypse from happening in 8 days. This is a very fun show to watch. It's very imaginative in the way that it tells its story. There are flashbacks, there are time jumps, there's a little bit of animation, there's dance sequences and dream sequences. It's a very fun show to watch. I think it would be quite difficult to get bored watching it. It throws a lot at you all the time in terms of visuals, but also plot and character. The cast are ridiculously great. I love them all. It has a real ensemble feel, and I found myself invested in or liking so many of the characters, regardless of the size of the role or their importance in the plot. And the relationships between the core family members are very interesting, so I enjoyed exploring that a great deal. There's a lot in the show. I feel like every 5 minutes you could pause and make an entirely new episode about this revelation, or this throwaway comment, or this past event which has just been referred to, or this character relationship, or this character. If you're a creative person and you're in a creative block, I feel like this would be an excellent show to watch to cure you completely of the creative block, because there's so much that you can delve into. As I said before, the story is told in quite a few different ways. I guess a different way of saying this is that it is inconsistent. The pacing can be a bit inconsistent. The look and the feel of the show can feel inconsistent. It doesn't have like one entirely obvious style to it where you're like, this is Umbrella Academy. Or maybe it's more like it has 5 styles where you're like, this is Umbrella Academy. Also, another thing on the more negative side for me is that the plot relies heavily on the characters not talking to each other. There were so many occasions in this show where character A needed to know certain information to move forward, and character B knew that information, but character A either didn't know to ask character B, or asked somebody completely different, or just went off on their own and didn't even think that anyone else could possibly be useful in this situation, or else character B would just not be there at the appropriate time and not be aware that they were needed, or didn't want to divulge the information, or was just off doing their own thing and not telling anyone. So I found myself getting quite frustrated with that. I mean, I know they're not exactly the best of friends, they're not the closest family. I know that the impending apocalypse isn't going to make them all go, right, let's resolve our differences, I forgive you for everything, I'm going to trust you and work with you, and I'm going to change all of my ways immediately. I know that that would be unrealistic, but there were just so many occasions where it was just like, if that person had asked this person instead of this person, or if just anybody had noticed that another person wasn't there, or if a character had just waited for a moment and not immediately gone off on their own. I found it quite frustrating. Not sure if you can tell. But even with that, the show I still enjoyed a lot. And all of that stuff does add to all of the character stuff and relationship stuff that I really love in Umbrella Academy. Yeah, I'd recommend watching this show. It's very imaginative, the performances are amazing, and there are so many fascinating characters and relationships and ideas that could keep you busy delving into them for years. I will give the Umbrella Academy 4.2 out of 5, and I can't wait for season 2. That's it for today. I would really love to know what you think about Solo and the Umbrella Academy if you have seen them. Let's move across to the end screen. If you would like to subscribe to my YouTube channel or join my Patreon, then you can do so beside me here. And if you'd like to see my latest video or some more episodes of Mouse Reviews, then you can do so below me here. Also, feel free to visit my website, quietasmouse.com, if you would like to see more of the stuff that I make and an up-to-date schedule. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you later on in the week.